Hello my loves. So as you can see, I'm not in front of my bookshelves today, but I thought this would be a nice location to talk to you about some autumn book recommendations. I'm not very creative, so I could have decorated my bookshelves, but I thought, why bother when Mother Nature can give you all the autumny vibes that you need. So I'm going to find a tree to put you in, and then I will talk to you about some books that I highly recommend picking up in the autumn. So it turns out there's not loads of trees to put phones in this wood. It's either too high or too low. So I suppose the first thing to discuss is what makes an autumn book. And for me, anything with dark vibes, murders, dark themes, ghosty vibes make good autumn books. And also if they're set somewhere wet, cold, miserable, swampy, those sorts of things make it feel autumn for me. So without further ado, let's talk about the first book that I'm going to recommend, which is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. So this is a pretty famous book. I actually read this for the first time in high school, and it's one of the few books I have reread. And for those that don't know, this follows a man who is sent to a house following the death of the owner to tie up all the odds and sods. And this house is at the end of a causeway. So when the tide's up, there's no escaping the house. You have to travel when the tide is low, and you can get onto the causeway, the road. So he goes to this house, he's sorting through all the paperwork, and spooky shenanigans start to occur. So I would absolutely highly recommend that book to pick up, especially maybe as we approach Halloween and you want some spooky, ghosty kind of vibes. An excellent choice. Moving on to a book with more of a thriller vibe, the next book I'm going to recommend to you is The Chestnut Man by Soren Sveistrup. This is a thriller, sort of police procedural, murder, mystery type book, written by a Nordic writer, and set in Sweden, I believe, in the autumn. So you get really, really good autumn vibes from this book. And it's about a serial killer who, at the bodies of its victims, leaves a small chestnut man, a little man made out of chestnuts. And our main protagonist has to find out who is committing these murders before any more occur. I read this last year with a couple of friends of mine, and we really, really enjoyed it. It's pretty fast paced for what is actually quite a chunky book. I think it's between 400 and 500 pages, but I would highly recommend it, especially if you like your sort of police procedural thriller type books. So the next book I want to recommend to you is The Asylum by Karen Coles. I haven't really seen this mentioned anywhere. I got it as an ARC earlier in the year, and it was really, really good. It had similar vibes to The Woman in Black. It's about a young woman, but this time we're following a young woman who ends up in an asylum, and you sort of have a split timeline between her being in the asylum and not really knowing why, and trying to work out what happened in her past, and obviously the past timeline unravelling. This had really spooky vibes. It also had the sort of marshy backdrop, the spooky house. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one. I won't obviously go into too much detail, because the less you know, the better going into this sort of book. But yeah, The Asylum by Karen Coles is one that I would highly recommend. Next up, we have a classic, Tess of the Derbyvilles by Thomas Hardy. This is the only book by Thomas Hardy that I've read to date, but based on this, I am absolutely going to pick up more by him. This book follows a young woman. I believe she goes to work on a farm. It's a while ago that I read it, so I'm not super clear on all the details, but she goes to work on a farm, meets a man, and it's about how her life progresses from there. But the thing that makes me think of this as an autumn book is, I suppose, the last third of the book is very, very dark, and I have memories of sort of rainy, dark nights, misty, those sorts of vibes. Even though I can't remember all the details, that's what springs to mind when I think of Tess and the Derbyvilles. So I would highly recommend picking this one up in the autumn as well. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is a book that I refer to as the most disturbing book I've ever read in my life, and that is The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. This one has trigger warnings for a lot of things, so please check those out before you pick it up. But this is set in Scotland, and you follow a young boy, and he's basically a bit feral and sort of goes off and does whatever he wants with his mates. And I won't tell you much more about the story, but it is a great setting, Scottish setting, very dark themes, and yeah, as I say, the most disturbing book I've ever read. The ending I did not see coming, so yeah, pick that one up if you're looking for something that's gonna really get you going. Switching it up a bit now, we're gonna go for some historical fiction / sort of ish sci-fi, and I'm going to recommend to you Outlander by Gabaldon. A lot of people know what this is about. You are following a woman, Claire, who gets sent back in time up in Scotland to sort of pre-Jacobite era, and she is picked up, I suppose, by a group of Scots that are part of the Mackenzie clan, and it sort of goes from there as she sort of learns to live in, is it 16th century Scotland, having come from sort of the, I think, 1950s, 1960s, the current timeline. She has like medical training. She was a nurse in the war, so she kind of uses those skills, but is perceived as a witch by some, and that lands her in some hot water too. So this is quite a big series. I think there are 7, 8 of these now. There's one due out any minute now, but these are fantastic books. And the other thing I quite like in the autumn is picking up quite a chunky series to really get my teeth into, so I would highly recommend this if you like historical fiction. And also there is some steamy romance in this, which is not usually my thing, but in this I really like it. The next book I would like to recommend to you is The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. Sorry, awful filming today. The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne. So this is a book set in World War II, and it follows the life of a young German boy whose father is in charge of Auschwitz, and they live just outside the fence. And this little boy meets a Jewish boy within Auschwitz at the fence, and they become friends. And it's about their relationship and the lack of understanding of what's really happening on the part of the German boy. And it's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking story. It's a really interesting perspective. A German child's view. It was really interesting to read from that. I think because the themes are so dark, that's why it lends itself to an autumn read for me. But this could be read at any time, and I think it's an important piece of his World War II fiction for people to read. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is also because of the dark themes in it, and that is The Children Act by Ian McEwan. Now this book follows a lawyer, I think she is. She's assigned to a case where a young boy is a Jehovah's Witness. He doesn't believe in blood transplant. The lawyer, I think she is. She's assigned to a case where a young boy is a Jehovah's Witness. He doesn't believe in blood transplants, but he is on the cusp of 18, I think. So he's between being able to make decisions for himself and not. And it's about the case and the legality and the morality around, should you force someone to have treatment that's going to save their lives? At what point can people make their own decisions? And it's, yeah, another heartbreaking one, but a real issue in the world, and a very interesting take on it. to see the religion, the dedication that some people have, especially at sort of a young teenage age, and how far we should go to respect those wishes. So, for the eagle-eyed among you, you may notice that I'm wearing both different attire and my hair is different. This is in fact because I'm filming on a different day, because somehow I misplaced my final clip from when I was recording before, so I've had to come back to the little spinny to give you my last 2 books that are in my autumn recommendations. Now, I do have a creative assistant with me today. Okay, so temper tantrum averted. The next book that I want to talk to you about is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. So this is YA fantasy, which is not something that I often read or often enjoy when I do read, but this one was fantastic. In this, we're following a young black girl who goes to university. She goes sort of on an early scholarship deal, and when she gets there, she witnesses a magical attack, and then she's thrown into this secret magical underworld, I suppose, at the university, the secret society that is sort of based around Arthurian legend. And the story goes from that, and she discovers sort of her inner powers and links to her mother who died when she was younger. And it was just fantastic. It's the first in a series, and I would absolutely highly recommend it. I think the reason I associate it with autumn is because of the whole school, university, academia vibes. So yeah, that one is next on my list. And then finally we have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This is a pretty well-known series, and this is a sort of crime thriller mystery book where we are following a journalist who becomes involved with a young woman, Elizabeth, who is a hacker, and he needs to use her skills to uncover some dodgy dealings that have been going on in a big corporate company. And it's about their relationship together and how they uncover some pretty sinister things that have happened, and then the journalist obviously reports on them. It's so good. It's part of a series. The first 3 were written by Stieg Larsson. He then unfortunately died, and so after that a shadow writer took over, and in my opinion they weren't as good, but the first 3 are fantastic, 5-star reads. Highly recommend you pick them up, and definitely have autumn spooky feels. Okay guys, that is my top 10 recommendations for autumn. I hope you find some of them intriguing and pick some up this season. If you liked this video, please hit subscribe and like, and I will be back soon with another one. Okay, cheers guys, bye.